Donald Trump strode on to David Letterman's show with that smug grin, ready to tear the aging host apart with razor-sharp insults and total domination. But in just 5 minutes, David Letterman turned him into a trembling, speechless wreck in front of millions, unleashing an old clip, a hospital folder, and a 100% matching timeline that left the world watching Donald Trump completely shatter live on air. Marking the first time in his life, the man who never loses control finally lost it all. The studio didn't feel like a late-night talk show anymore. It felt like a damn battlefield right before the first shot. David Letterman sat dead center behind the desk, legs crossed, hands resting easy, that familiar half-smile locked in place. But his eyes were different tonight. They moved slowly and deliberately across the room. Then the band kicked the intro, lights flared even brighter, and Donald Trump strode out like he owned the building, the stage, and every single person in it. He didn't jog or wave like most guests. He walked slowly and heavily, chin up, shoulders squared, scanning the crowd with that tight smirk that said he was already winning. When he reached the guest chair, he didn't sit right away. He adjusted his red tie, tugged his jacket, gave the audience a quick once-over like he was sizing up voters, then finally dropped into the seat. Legs spread wide, elbows claiming the armrests, taking up every inch of space he could. He looked straight at Letterman and fired the first shot without missing a beat. "Big crowd tonight, Dave," Trump said, voice loud and carrying to the back row. "Guess people still like seeing real power on TV instead of whatever this is." A few nervous laughs scattered through the audience, but they died fast. Trump flicked his eyes back to Letterman. "Your ratings must be in the toilet these days. I mean, come on. You need me here more than I need you. That's the truth." He leaned forward a little, grinning like he just landed a knockout punch. The crowd shifted in their seats. Some people clapped out of habit, others just stared, not sure what to do with the sudden heat in the room. Letterman didn't bite. He just sat there, calm as hell, letting Trump's words hang in the air. Trump smelled the opening and kept swinging. "Look, let's be honest," he went on, voice picking up speed. "Your show used to be something back in the day. Now, it's nostalgia and clips on YouTube. Nobody's watching live anymore. You're yesterday's news, Dave. Bitter old man trying to stay relevant. That's why you booked me. My name pulls viewers. My face saves your numbers. Without me tonight, you're looking at another ratings disaster." He tapped the desk with one finger, like he was sealing the point. "Admit it. You're desperate." The audience felt the shift. A low murmur rolled through the seats, half uncomfortable, half stunned. Trump kept piling on, not giving Letterman a second to jump in. "You don't ask real questions anymore," he said, leaning closer. "You fish for drama because that's all you've got left. Sad, really, very sad." He shook his head like he felt sorry for the guy, but the smirk never left his face. Every word was designed to shrink Letterman right there on national television, make him look small, washed up, irrelevant. And Letterman? He didn't fire back, didn't defend himself, didn't even blink. He just sat perfectly still, that same half-smile in place, letting Trump talk and talk and talk. The longer the silence stretched after each Trump jab, the heavier the room felt. Trump noticed it too. He paused for half a second, frowned, then pushed harder, raising his voice like volume could fix the problem. "See? You're quiet now," he said, pointing at Letterman. "That's what happens when the truth hits you in the face. People don't come here for lectures from a has-been. They come for winners. And guess what? I'm sitting right here." But the silence kept growing. Awkward, thick, uncomfortable as hell on live TV. Letterman finally broke the silence, but he didn't raise his voice. He didn't even lean forward. He just tilted his head a little and spoke like he was talking to a kid who got caught lying. "You know what's interesting?" he said, calm and slow. "The louder you get, the more it looks like you're scared of something." The words landed soft, but they hit hard. Trump's smirk froze for half a second. He blinked once, then forced a laugh, but it came out too quick, too sharp. The audience felt the change before they could even name it. Something in the room had just tilted. Trump shook his head like he was brushing off a bad joke. Scared? Me? He leaned in closer, elbows on the desk, voice rising again. Dave, nobody cares about you anymore. Nobody. You're a relic. People watch old clips of you on their phones because they feel sorry for you. That's it. He pointed one finger right at Letterman's chest. You're done. Finished. I'm the only reason anyone tuned in tonight. Without me, this show is a ghost town. He kept going, piling it on, thinking volume would bury the earlier silence. You're just an old guy with a bad haircut trying to stay in the game. Pathetic, really. Letterman didn't flinch. He didn't interrupt. He waited until Trump ran out of breath, then spoke again, even quieter than before. People don't get scared of ratings dropping, he said. They get scared when the truth shows up. The line cut through the noise like a knife. Trump's mouth opened, but nothing came out right away. For the first time that night, he didn't have an instant comeback. His eyes narrowed, jaw tightened. The audience leaned forward in their seats. Nobody clapped. Nobody laughed. They just watched. The energy in the room had shifted hard, and everyone felt it. Trump tried to grab control back. He started talking over Letterman before the last word even finished. That's cute, Dave. Real cute, but... Letterman raised one hand, just a small motion, but it stopped Trump cold. Hold on, Letterman said, voice steady. From here on out, we do this one way. One question, one answer, no speeches, no side stories, no yelling over me. Trump's face flushed red. He laughed again, but it sounded forced. You don't get to make rules for me, he snapped. I ran the White House. I don't take orders from a talk show host who's been canceled by his own network. Letterman didn't blink. You're not in the White House right now, he said evenly. You're sitting in my studio, on my show, and tonight I'm the one asking. The words hung there, simple and brutal. Trump shifted in his chair, foot tapping the floor once, twice. He opened his mouth, closed it, and then tried again. This is ridiculous, he muttered, but the volume was gone. The bluster was cracking. Letterman let the silence sit for just a couple more seconds, long enough for everyone to feel the weight of it. Then he leaned forward a fraction, elbows on the desk, voice dropping even lower, almost casual. Since we're talking about power and family tonight, he said, let's talk about Ivanka. He didn't shout it. He didn't linger on the name. He just dropped it like a stone into still water and watched the ripples start. The word hung there, simple and sharp. The audience sucked in a collective breath. A few people shifted forward in their seats. Trump's whole body changed in an instant. Shoulders locked, jaw clenched, eyes narrowing to slits. The smirk vanished. Trump shot forward in his chair like someone had hit him with a taser. Whoa, whoa, whoa! He barked, voice spiking high and angry. Ivanka is off limits. You hear me? Off limits. That's my daughter. My family. You don't get to drag her into your little game. He jabbed a finger toward Letterman, hard enough that the camera caught the tremble in it. You start going there, Dave, and you'll regret this. You'll regret it big time. I'm warning you right now. His face flushed red, breathing quick and shallow. The audience went dead quiet. No laughs, no murmurs, just stunned stares. They could feel the line being crossed. Letterman didn't back up. He didn't even blink. He kept his eyes locked on Trump's, calm as ever, like he was reading the morning paper. You brought family into this a long time ago, he said evenly. You put them on stage. You put them in ads. You put them in speeches about how perfect your life is, how strong your family is, how that strength makes you the ultimate winner. When you use your family to build that image of power, Dave, the family stops being private. It becomes part of the story. And tonight, we're talking about the story. Trump's mouth opened, then snapped shut. For a split second, he looked like he might actually stand up and walk off. Instead, he slammed his palm down on the armrest. Hard. The sound cracked through the studio like a gunshot. You're crossing into dangerous territory, Dave, he shouted, voice raw and shaking with fury. Dangerous. You think you can sit there and throw my daughter's name around like it's some cheap punchline? You're done. You're finished. This ends right now. He leaned so far forward the desk creaked. You want to play dirty? Fine. But you just made the biggest mistake of your pathetic career. The room felt like it had shrunk. Every camera angle caught it. The red creeping up Trump's neck, the vein pulsing in his forehead, the way his hands kept clenching and unclenching. Letterman stayed perfectly still, that same half smile barely there, letting Trump's outburst echo off the walls. No comeback, no defense, just quiet, deadly quiet. The longer it stretched, the smaller Trump's rage started to look, like a man yelling at a brick wall. The audience didn't cheer. They didn't boo. They just watched wide-eyed, hearts pounding, because they knew something irreversible had just happened. The name was out. The line was crossed. And there was no going back. Trump sat back hard, chest heaving, trying to pull himself together. He forced a laugh, but it came out broken. You're desperate, he muttered, more to himself than anyone else. That's all this is. Desperate. But the damage was done. The air in the studio had thickened into something else entirely, something electric and dangerous. Letterman didn't need to say another word yet. The name alone had done its job. Then Letterman reached under the desk, picked up a small remote, and pressed one button without looking away from Trump. The big LED screen behind them flickered on, cold blue light washing over the stage. No fanfare, no dramatic music, just the sudden glow and the sound of an old clip starting to play. It was grainy from years back, one of those late-night interviews where Trump was relaxed, laughing, microphone close to his mouth. On screen, younger Trump leaned back in a chair, grinning wide, and said it casual as anything. Ivanka? Yeah, she's beautiful. If she wasn't my daughter, maybe I'd be dating her. He chuckled like it was the funniest thing, the audience on the old tape laughing along. But tonight, in this studio, nobody laughed. The clip kept rolling for maybe 10 seconds, long enough for the words to sink in, long enough for the old laughter to feel wrong. Tonight's audience gave a few nervous, half-hearted chuckles that died fast. Faces turned uneasy. Some people looked down at their laps. Others stared at the screen like they couldn't believe what they were hearing again. The mood in the room flipped hard. What used to be brushed off as just Trump being Trump now landed different, heavy, uncomfortable, wrong. The air got thick. Trump shifted in his seat, arms crossing tight across his chest, eyes flicking from the screen to Letterman and back. Letterman hit pause. The frame froze right on Trump's face. Mid-laugh, eyes sharp, mouth curved in that calculating half-smile that suddenly didn't look like a joke at all. Letterman stood up slow, walked over to the screen, and pointed one finger at the frozen expression. Look at this, he said, voice low and even. Not the words, the face. That little pause right before he laughs. That's not someone cracking a joke. That's someone testing the room, seeing how far he can push. He let his hand drop, turned back to Trump, and stayed standing there, calm, like a teacher waiting for the student to explain himself. The cameras caught every angle, Trump's tightening jaw, the veins starting to pulse in his temple. Then Letterman delivered it. No buildup, no drama, just the question, quiet and straight. What if it wasn't a joke? The words dropped into the silence like a brick through glass. The studio went dead. No gasps, no whispers, no movement. Just pure, stunned quiet. Millions at home probably froze too. Trump's mouth opened a fraction, then closed. He tried to force a grin, but it came out twisted, shaky. His laugh, when it finally came, was thin, forced, cracking at the edges. Come on, he said, voice higher than before. That's ridiculous. Everybody knows it was a joke. Lighten up, Dave. But the tremor in his tone gave him away. For the first time all night, the bluster wasn't holding. He looked smaller in the chair. The audience sat frozen. Front row people gripped armrests so hard their knuckles went white. A woman covered her mouth. A guy in the back shook his head slow, like he was trying to process it. Nobody clapped. Nobody booed. They just watched Trump try to pull himself back together and fail. Letterman walked back to his desk, sat down easy, and let the silence stretch again. Longer this time. Painful on live TV. Trump wiped his palms on his thighs without realizing it. His breathing got louder, visible. He kept glancing at the frozen image behind him, like it was burning a hole in his back. Then Trump snapped. He shoved himself halfway out of the chair, not quite standing, but not sitting either, one hand pointing straight at Letterman. "You're sick," he shouted, voice raw and breaking. "This is a witch hunt, a total witch hunt. You dig up some old clip and twist it into this garbage? You're disgusting." His finger shook as he jabbed the air. "You think you can sit there and attack my family like that? You're finished, Dave. Finished." He dropped back into the seat hard, chest heaving, face flushed dark red. The outburst echoed off the walls, but it didn't land like his earlier attacks. It sounded desperate, cornered. Letterman didn't waste time on theatrics. He reached under the desk again, pulled out a thin black folder, and set it flat on the table right between them. No flourish, no big announcement, just placed it there like it was the most normal thing in the world. He tapped the cover once with his finger, then leaned back. The LED screen behind them switched instantly. Big, bold letters appeared. Hospital record. Below that, clear as day, a name. Ivanka Trump. The date range lined up right underneath. 9 months that matched the exact window everyone already knew about from the timeline. The studio went so quiet, you could hear the air conditioning hum. A few people in the front row actually leaned forward, necks craning to see the screen better. Trump's eyes locked on the folder like it was a live grenade. Trump laughed, too loud, too fast. "Oh, come on," he said, shaking his head. "That's fake. Anybody can print a fake header and slap a name on it. You think I'm going to sit here and let you wave around Photoshop garbage?" He waved his hand dismissively, but his voice had an edge now, sharper than before. Letterman didn't argue. He just opened the folder slow, one page at a time, letting the camera catch every move. The screen zoomed in tight on the first document. Official stamps, hospital code, department seal. Everything looked real, crisp, dated. Then he flipped to the next page. "Not just one visit," Letterman said, calm as ever. "Multiple entries, admission, follow-up, another follow-up, check after check, all in the same window." He pointed to the dates lined up like bullets. "This isn't random. This is a pattern." Trump's smirk faded fast. He leaned forward, eyes darting over the pages. "You're making this up," he snapped. "That could be anybody's name. You don't have proof it's her." But his tone wasn't as solid anymore. Letterman turned another page without looking up. "Name, date of birth, patient ID, all matching, every single field." The screen split, showing side-by-side comparisons. No room for doubt. The audience started murmuring low, heads turning to each other, phones already coming out in some seats. Trump's breathing picked up. He reached across the desk sudden, fingers outstretched toward the folder like he was going to snatch it. "Let me see that," he said, voice tight. "I want to look at it myself." Letterman's hand came down smooth and firm, pinning the folder flat before Trump could grab it. The move was quick, controlled. No drama, just enough force to stop him cold. Trump's fingers froze an inch from the edge. The camera zoomed in hard, close up on Trump's hand, knuckles white, trembling just enough for everyone to see. The shake was small but unmistakable on the big screen. Trump yanked his hand back like he'd been burned, sat up straight, face flushing darker. The audience caught it all. A ripple of shock moved through the seats. Nobody said a word, but the energy shifted again, harder this time. Trump looked exposed, caught mid-reach. Letterman closed the folder halfway, keeping it visible, then looked straight at Trump. "Here's the simple question," he said, voice low and direct. Why are there 5 separate hospital visits? 5 in the exact 9 months Ivanka disappeared in Europe? No public events, no photos, no interviews, just silence. And then these records. He tapped the folder again. 5 times. Same department, same pattern. Explain that. The question landed like a punch to the gut. Trump's mouth opened, closed. He tried to laugh it off again, but the sound came out choked. This is fabricated, he said, but the words sounded thinner, weaker. All of it, fake. You're desperate, Dave. Desperate. He kept repeating it. This is fabricated, like saying it enough times would make it true. But each time the phrase came out quieter, shakier. His chest rose and fell faster, breaths coming in short huffs. Sweat started to bead at his hairline under the lights. He wiped his forehead with the back of his hand, eyes flicking from the folder to Letterman to the screen and back again. The bluster was leaking out fast. The man who'd stormed in owning the room now looked like he was fighting just to stay in the chair. Then Letterman tapped the remote again. No warning, no buildup. The big screen switched from the hospital records to something grainier. Backstage footage, shaky cam, clearly shot from a hidden angle in a hallway years ago. The audio kicked in low at first, then the speakers cranked it up clean and raw. Trump's voice, unmistakable, half whispered but sharp. She's mine. Just 3 words. No context, no follow-up. The clip cut off abrupt, but those words echoed through the studio like they'd been waiting to be heard for a decade. A shiver ran through the audience. Visible, almost physical. People's shoulders hunched. A woman in the front row pressed her hand to her chest. Another guy's jaw dropped open and stayed there. Nobody laughed. Nobody moved. The room felt colder suddenly, smaller. Trump's head snapped toward the screen so fast it looked painful. His face drained of color for a second before the red rushed back in. "What the hell is this?" he barked, voice cracking higher. Letterman didn't answer right away. He let the echo fade, then hit play again. Slower this time, every syllable hanging. "She's mine." The words landed heavier the second time. Trump shot forward in his chair. "You edited that. You cut it. That's not the full thing." He jabbed a finger at the screen like he could stab the image away. "That's taken out of context. You're splicing garbage to make me look bad." Letterman stayed perfectly still. He pressed another button and the screen split. On the left, the frozen audio waveform, time-stamped. On the right, a clean digital timeline sliding into place, month by month. Labels popped up one after another, red markers for the 9-month gap in Europe. No events, no sightings. Blue markers for the hospital admissions from the folder. Yellow for the exact date of that backstage whisper. Green for Ivanka's quiet return flight to the States. Everything lined up in a straight, brutal column. No gaps, no coincidences, just bricks stacking into a wall. Letterman pointed once, slow and deliberate. "This is the file original," he said, voice flat and certain. "The network ran it through forensic audio. Independent report, no edits, no splicing. You can see the certification right here on screen if you want." A small box appeared in the corner. Official letterhead, date, signature from the tech team. Undeniable. Trump's breathing turned ragged. He stared at the timeline like it was personally attacking him. Then he swung his head toward the audience, eyes wide, desperate. "Do you believe this garbage?" he shouted, voice cracking on the last word. "Come on, this is fake news. Total setup. You people aren't buying this, are you?" He spread his arms, palms up, pleading for backup, for applause, for anything. The room gave him nothing. Dead silence. Not a single clap. Not a murmur of agreement. Just hundreds of faces staring back. Some shocked, some disgusted, some simply blank with disbelief. The quiet stretched so long it hurt. Trump's arms dropped slow. His shoulders sagged. He looked smaller than he had all night. Letterman leaned forward just a fraction, voice dropping to a near whisper that somehow carried to every corner of the studio. "Silence," he said softly, "is the loudest answer tonight." The words weren't loud. They weren't angry, but they cut deeper than any shout. Trump's mouth opened, then closed. He rubbed his face hard with both hands, smearing sweat across his forehead. His eyes darted. Screen, audience, Letterman, back to the screen, like he was searching for an escape hatch that didn't exist. The timeline stayed frozen behind him, glowing, unblinking, every date and marker screaming the same thing. The pattern wasn't abstract anymore. It was staring everyone in the face. Trump tried one last push. This is insane," he muttered, but the fight was bleeding out of his voice. He slumped back in the chair, chest rising and falling too fast, hands clenched on the armrests. The cameras caught it all, the tremble in his fingers, the way his eyes wouldn't settle. Then Letterman raised one hand slow, almost gentle, toward the side curtain. No big announcement, just a small signal. The door near the edge of the stage opened quiet, and a man stepped out, mid-40s, suit a little too plain, shoulders tight like he was carrying something heavy he couldn't put down. He walked slow across the stage, eyes down at first, then lifting to meet Letterman's nod. The audience reacted instant. Sharp gasps, heads whipping around, a low wave of whispers that died fast. Trump's head snapped toward the new arrival. His face twisted. "Oh, come on," he said, voice dripping sarcasm. "Now you're bringing in random ex-employees? This is pathetic, Dave. Pathetic." The man stopped a few feet from the desk, hands clasped in front of him, knuckles white. Letterman spoke calm, no rush. "Tell them what you delivered," he said. The man swallowed hard, voice low but clear enough for the mics to catch every word. "Prenatal vitamins," he said. The phrase landed like a slap. A ripple shot through the crowd. Gasps louder this time, people leaning forward, eyes wide. The man kept going, steady despite the shake in his hands. "I was told to take them to her apartment, multiple times. The order came from the top, from his office." He didn't point at Trump. He didn't have to. Everyone knew. Trump shot upright in his chair, face dark red. "You're lying," he barked. "You'll never work again. You hear me? Never. In this town, in this industry, done. Finished. I'll make sure of it." His voice cracked on the last word, more threat than promise. The man looked at him direct for the first time. His eyes were tired but steady. "I already lost everything when I signed your NDA," he said quietly. "The day I delivered those bottles, I signed away my career anyway. So go ahead. Threaten all you want. It doesn't change what I did or what I saw." The words hung there, simple and brutal. Trump's mouth opened, but nothing came out right away. The audience felt the shift, quiet, stunned, the kind of quiet that comes when someone finally says the thing nobody else dared. Letterman nodded once to the man, who stepped back a little, then raised his hand again. Another figure emerged from the same curtain, a woman, late 30s, dark hair pulled tight, moving careful like every step hurt. She stopped beside the desk, eyes glossy already, fingers twisting together. Trump laughed sharp, forced. "What, another one? This is a circus now." Letterman ignored him. "This one isn't about deliveries," he said. "It's about silence." The woman lifted her head slow. "I was Ivanka's personal assistant," she said, voice soft but breaking through the hush. "After Barron was born, they called me into a private room. No phones, no recording, just a stack of papers." She paused, throat working. "They said I had to sign a non-disclosure agreement, not about business deals, not about work, about family matters, about what happened around the birth." The studio went still again, heavier than before. Trump leaned forward fast. "NDAs are normal," he snapped. "Everybody signs them. You're twisting it into something it's not." The woman met his eyes for a second, then looked away. "They told me if I ever spoke," she continued, voice trembling now, "they'd sue me until I had nothing left. No job, no future, no way to fight back." A tear slipped down her cheek, but she didn't wipe it. That wasn't protection. That was fear. The room sucked in a breath. People's hands flew to mouths. Eyes darted between her and Trump. Trump exploded. He spun toward her, voice going high and shrill, almost breaking. "You're betraying the family that gave you everything," he shouted, finger jabbing the air. "Everything. We trusted you. We paid you. And this is how you repay us? By coming out here and lying on live TV?" His face was twisted, eyes wild. The woman flinched at the volume, but she didn't back down. She looked right at him, tears streaming now, and her voice came out small but clear. "I'm not betraying the family," she said. "I'm betraying a lie." The line cracked something open in the room. A sob escaped her. She covered her mouth quick, shoulders shaking. The audience broke. Not all at once, but in waves. A woman in the third row stood up first, slow, then started clapping, sharp, deliberate. Another person joined, then a few more. Scattered at first, hesitant but growing. Not wild applause, not cheers, just real, raw emotion. Hands coming together because words weren't enough anymore. Some people wiped their eyes, others sat frozen, stunned. Trump looked out at them, arms dropping to his sides, mouth half open like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. The claps weren't for Letterman. They weren't even against Trump. They were for the truth finally stepping into the light, human and hurting and impossible to ignore. Letterman let it happen. He didn't cut it off. He didn't speak. He just sat there, letting the witnesses stand in the spotlight, letting the audience feel the weight of what they just heard. Trump slumped back in his chair, breathing hard, eyes darting from face to face in the crowd. The man who'd walked in like he owned everything now looked like he was watching his world slip away one quiet clap at a time. The witnesses stayed where they were, heads high despite the tears. And the room, millions watching live, knew the night had crossed into something no spin could fix. The red light on the camera blinked off. The band didn't play out. No applause cue. Just the sudden quiet of a live feed cutting to commercial. But nobody in the studio moved right away. People sat stunned, staring at the stage like they just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. Trump stayed slumped in the chair, eyes down, hands limp on his knees. Letterman stood slow, gave a small nod to the control booth, then walked off without a word. The house lights came up gradual, but the energy didn't lift. It hung heavy, electric. Phones were already lighting up in every hand, clips uploading, notifications exploding. By the time the first ad break hit, the internet was on fire. Within minutes, raw segments flooded every platform. The frozen clip of young Trump. The "what if it wasn't a joke" line. The hand reaching for the folder and shaking. The witnesses' faces, tears and all. The Swiss files splitting the screen. The timeline locking everything together. Hashtag, what if it wasn't a joke? Shot to #1 worldwide in under 30 minutes. Trending in the US, Europe, Asia, everywhere. People who'd never watched Letterman were suddenly sharing 15-second cuts with captions like, "Did this just happen?" and rewatch from 8:42, "Holy shit." Views climbed into the millions fast. News alerts pinged nonstop. Late-night shows cut into regular programming to replay moments. It wasn't gossip anymore. It was a cultural detonation. Trump didn't wait long. His phone must have been blowing up because the tweets started pouring out almost immediately. Rapid fire, all caps, typos, and all. "Fake news witch hunt. Letterman desperate has-been. Total lies and forgeries. See you in court." Another, "Network will pay big. Documents fake. Witnesses paid off. Sad." Then, "I'm suing everyone involved, including you reading this." Each post was angrier, more frantic, but every rage tweet acted like gasoline. People, quote, retweeted with side-by-side screenshots of the timeline. Fact-check threads dissected dates and stamps. Clips got reposted with higher views. The more he denied, the more the algorithm pushed the original footage. His own words became the fuel keeping the fire roaring. By midnight Eastern, the interview had shattered every streaming record for a late-night clip. Then the final hammer dropped. Around 2 a.m., CNN broke in with a breaking news banner. An anonymous email had landed in their inbox, sent from a secure, untraceable address. Subject line, "Confirmation from Zurich." The sender identified as a retired Swiss physician who'd worked at the private clinic in the files. No name, no face, just a scanned letter on clinic letterhead, matching the one Letterman showed. The text was short, clinical, devastating. "I confirm I personally examined the patient during the appointments listed in the provided records. Prenatal care, all details accurate. I am coming forward because silence is no longer ethical." CNN verified the letterhead against public records in minutes. The email included timestamps and metadata that lined up with the clinic system. No proof it was fake. No way to dismiss it quick. The anchor read it straight-faced, then cut to reaction shots from experts. The room went quiet again. Different quiet this time. The kind that comes when the last doubt evaporates. Back in the original studio, hours earlier, Letterman had one final moment before the credits rolled. He'd walked back to the desk after the witnesses left, sat down, looked straight into the main camera, no smile, no smirk, just steady eyes, and spoke low, clear, like he was talking to one person at a time. "Power isn't loud," he said. "Power isn't yelling. Power isn't threats or tweets or lawsuits. Power is what remains when all the noise stops." He paused, let it sink in. Tonight, the noise stopped, and what's left is still standing there on the screen. He nodded once, almost to himself, then the feed cut. No wink, no punchline, just the truth hanging in the frame. The world didn't stop digging after that. Forums lit up with deep dives. People cross-referencing flight logs, old social media posts, even satellite images of the Zurich clinic from those months. Podcasts dissected every second of the interview, frame by frame. Journalists chased leads on the witnesses, the anonymous doctor, the NDAs. Questions kept piling up, louder in the silence than any shout. Why the alias? Why the gaps? Why the fear? Trump never gave a direct answer. No press conference. No sit-down interview. Just more tweets, more denials, more threats that sounded smaller each day. The official response never came. No real records surfaced to counter the files. No lawsuits materialized in the way he promised. The story didn't end with a bang or a confession. It just kept burning slow, spreading wider, leaving the same question floating over everything. What if it wasn't a joke?
And months later, people were still asking, still watching the clips, still waiting for the one thing that never arrived, the truth from the man himself. If this wild showdown just blew your mind, don't walk away now. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss the next explosive moment.